everyone, and welcome back to this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Roti. I'm joined alongside my good friend and co-host, London Beth. And today, we are hitting on the potential Bears' new home that is no longer in the 312 zip code. Looking more like an 847, potentially heading to Arlington Heights at the famous site of Arlington Racetrack. But before we begin, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Higher Level Camps.
HLC is the longest running boys and girls AAU program in the state of Wisconsin. HLC was established in 1995, a year after I was born, actually, by the founder and former retired WNBA player, Cheryl Moore. 27 years and counting, Cheryl. Keep it going. For more information, visit higherlevelcamps.com and say Just Another Year Chicago sent you.
We love Cheryl, though she is a Packers fan. But let's jump into it. The Bears have placed an official bid on the Arlington Racetrack estate property in Arlington Heights, Illinois. So this is about 17 miles roughly outside the epicenter of Chicago. If you think about it, London, I'm not sure if you've done the drive. I'm from the Chicago suburbs, and from Arlington Heights to Soldier Field on a Sunday is at least an hour of your time if you're lucky. You're looking at no parking. You're looking at horrible traffic, just not good. But we're going to jump into that in a second. The Arlington Racetrack has been shopped over the last few years due to gambling laws in Illinois. The owner of the Arlington Racetrack is wanting to expand his horizon and get more into the Rivers casino scene, so he is willing to give up the estate. The estate itself has been in the family for a very, very long time. So this was big news when it first broke, and the Bears were the big team to go after them. Now, the Bears have used a bid. And the reason why I put quotations around is because in the past, the Bears have bluffed on this to get funding from the city of Chicago to update Soldier Field. Well, the Bears are not bluffing this time. CEO of the Bears, Ted Phillips, has officially put in a bid. Arlington Heights mayor has confirmed they have received a bid. And, this just is because also, so the Bears have a lease with Soldier Field to 2033 that they can break if they pay, I believe it's like $36 million, London. It's chump change to the McCaskey family. But there is a lot of wrong reasons with Soldier Field, and they want out. They've always wanted to own their own stadium. It probably would no longer be called Soldiers Field because of the fact that it is not the historical landmark that Soldiers Field is. And the price is not available due to the public because probably it would be astronomical. But the bid was placed on June 17th. Bears Twitter went crazy. And I don't think, London, I don't think anyone was upset about the Bears leaving Chicago besides Lori Lightfoot and Mike Ditka. So what was your initial reaction when you heard about this bid being placed?
A couple things, just off the first thing. First off, I know Mike Ditka was, of course, be upset. I mean, they won a lot of games at Soldier Field that he Papa Bear, and that's kind of his second home. And the biggest thing when it comes to Soldier Field in downtown Chicago is just the incapability for fans to get there, for us to tailgate. I've been to Soldier Field numerous times, and it's a great on the lake, stadium, outdated, just and especially with how the Chicago Bears and how Chicago sports are coming, I think it is time. And I was very excited. I have family. Shout out to Aunt Karen and Uncle Pete. They live right by St. Viator over there, actually, right down Euclid Avenue from Arlington Racetrack. I went there as a kid. I remember it back when it was in its heyday. It's a great location right off the highway. And I was really excited. Because of my aunt and uncle, I'll be able to park at their house and literally walk to the stadium. So that would be really, really awesome. And B, because I just think that area is growing really heavily out by the highway, by the racetrack. The Mike Ditka Steakhouse is over there. There's a few new strip malls and like a Starbucks and stuff like that over there. There's a few new kind of bigger office buildings and things. But ultimately, it's pretty wide open, which is a lot to say in the Chicago suburbs that there's land out there. But there is, and I think it would attract a whole different type of fan. Not a lot of people, people want to go down to Wrigleyville. People, want to go to, the new Sox Stadium and stuff. But going to Soldier Field never really felt like the same ambiance as going to Wrigleyville. And so I'm really hoping that Arlington Heights can bring that. We can have large parking lots. We can tailgate games. We can do all that kind of stuff. Overall, I was super excited. But again, it was mostly for personal reasons.
So, yeah, I mean, absolutely agree. I think it'd be really cool. I'm from Deerfield, so it's about 25 minutes east of Arlington Heights, or it actually pretty much is straight east. And I think it would be super cool because when you jump on 55, and when I went to Illinois State, I would always pass the racetrack. And how cool would it be to see a massive stadium just sitting over there on the side? And it's a lot of land. And, I've looked at properties over there for living, personally, and it's a very up and coming area. Shout out to Dave & Buster's being over there. Like, just imagine getting absolutely crazy at a Bears game and then just wanting to go walk over to Dave & Buster's after. But there's more to it that the Bears would do with this. So kind of a breakdown exactly how big of a property this is that the Arlington Racetrack is sitting on a total of 329 acres of land. This includes practice tracks. This includes parking, living for the trainers and riders. So kind of like a personal hotel so they don't have to be, outside. And it's a dangerous environment when there's money on the line and a rider to be out in public after potentially and someone that could have lost, 15, 20 grand and be like, hey, so they have all these different areas within the property, medical areas, and so on. But the big thing is to put into perspective how massive this is compared to Soldier Field is that Soldier Field is sitting on 7 acres of land. Just to confirm, 7. So you're saying, so it is 322 acres smaller than the Arlington Racetrack area. That's insane. And then, as many of you know, the LA Rams have a brand new stadium, SoFi Stadium, I believe. It's on 298 acres. So we would have another almost 30 acres compared to what the LA Rams has. And they have more than enough space, and that's in Los Angeles. So this would include the Bears putting in training facilities, kind of what London was saying, that they've had a couple strip malls go over there. There'd be another mall potentially put into the area, plenty of parking, public transit, just crazy amount of opportunities. And I like what you said earlier, London, is that Chicago is one of the biggest markets in the NFL, and it has the second smallest stadium. Yes, it is officially considered outdated. It is 18 years old from when Soldier Field was, under construction first. 2004 is when it was completed. And it's the second smallest stadium compared to the Cleveland Browns. So two completely different. I mean, the Browns are a pretty big market, but Chicago is a whole new animal. So, and also, like you were kind of saying earlier, public transit goes right outside Arlington Racetrack. There's a metro station right there. There's 2 major highways. The public roads are 3 lanes wide. When I got my COVID test, back in November, and I drove there, you would never think there was a line because Arlington Racetrack is so big. And there's so much room out there. And there's a lot of empty lots because I believe that Arlington has been expecting this. And right outside of it, outside of those empty lots, is restaurants, a lot of different nightlife, and that's just going to be amplified. And there is no public transit, like London was saying, outside Soldier Field. There's no L line that takes you directly to it. There's 3 major parking lots that are complete jokes. And you can't get an Uber anywhere outside Soldier Field. When I went to Bears Packers on the 100th anniversary, it took not only 45 minutes to potentially get an Uber, but it was $200 to go from Soldier Field to Park Ridge. Made absolutely no sense because the surge was so high. There's no opportunity for Ubers to just kind of wait, taxis to wait, or anything. This just opens up a whole new ballgame. And it's only 15 minutes from O'Hare Airport. So celebrities can come in, major fans. It just makes sense. So, London, in regards to where you see it from a logistics standpoint, Soldier Field, I mean, the backdrop of Soldier Field is fantastic. You can't beat the Chicago skyline in the background. But logistically, does it not make sense for them to move?
I think it completely makes sense, Nick. I think that them moving there, and like you said, and like I kind of alluded to a little bit, we're the second largest, market in the entire world when it comes to sports. We're a large city. We attract, like you said, those celebrities, those big name players, big name fans, the whole 9 yards like that. Yes, Soldier Field is historic, but the problem is I think it's really time that, we kind of pull a Jerry Jones move and just build a ginormous stadium. I'm talking just the whole 9 yards, all the bells and whistles. I know the San Francisco 49ers recently built one also. We talked about SoFi Stadium for the LA Rams and the Chargers and stuff like that. You see LA, you see San Francisco, you see Dallas, you see all these different kinds of places building these beautiful state-of-the-art facilities, and not only just stadiums, but the facilities, the hotels, the practice fields, all this kinds of different stuff. You can't do that on 7 acres of land. unless you
No.
are building floating rafts into Lake Michigan, which probably will be some kind of economic, pitfall that, Lori Lightfoot or whatever the mayor's name would freak out about because it would, I don't know, hurt the lake ecosystem or something. It would overall, it is time to get out of there.
Yes.
And like you said, I loved going to Soldier Field. Still love going to Soldier Field. My biggest issue with it is if you take the train into town, it is probably 12 blocks away, roughly.
Yes.
Yeah, it's probably like roughly 12 blocks away. Like you said, the Ubers and stuff. So you're almost forced to walk that unless you want to spend an obscene amount of money on an Uber or wait around. And yes, walking through downtown Chicago, then going to Soldier Field. But I mean, just the kind of middle area, once you get out of Chicago and you're having to walk like through those highways, it just stinks. It really does.
It's horrible.
And it is. And in these kinds of days with, our generation wanted easy accessibility, easier ability to get into stadiums, high tech things. I just think it makes sense. I think we could build great facilities. I think it'll attract different new players, new fans, all that kind of different stuff. And I agree with you on that last note because I have, like I said, Aunt Karen and Uncle Pete live right down the road there. So I've been to Arlington Heights, a ton to, visit them for holidays and all that kind of different stuff like that. And I feel like Arlington Heights has been kind of ramping up for this.
Yes.
The downtown nightlife of Arlington Heights, they have a lot of new restaurants, a lot of, piano bars and, Irish pubs and all this kinds of different stuff and, beautiful like alleyway restaurants. And on top of that, you still got the Mike Ditka Steakhouse and you have great transportation and you're getting new, strip malls and stuff like that. So if this has any indication of what is going to actually happen, the way Arlington Heights and the mayor there and the, council people have been trying to help bring businesses into Arlington Heights should insinuate that there is going to be something happening and something as of the Chicago Bears coming to town. So I just think logically, overall, if you look at it on the location, the city, what people are looking for, with this new kind of demographic of, millennials becoming into their 30s and 40s and stuff, the Bears should seriously consider, and I know they put a bid in, moving over there. I mean, 390 so acres, you could do a ton with that, Nick. I mean, 330, my correction there. You could do so much with that, that it would attract so many different things. And it would attract a lot of money to that area too, which I think would be great.
And, another thing that people, before we kind of get into our last question, is that a lot of people are freaking out about the Bears changing their name. Just shut up. They're not going to switch their name from the Chicago Bears to the Arlington Heights Bears. It's not going to happen. I know it's in the thumbnail, but just how ridiculous, for example, Lori Lightfoot has been pushing hard for the Bears to stay in the city of Chicago. And she's the one that said this is a bluff. They're just doing this to get more money. No, they want out because the city of Chicago is not giving them what the Bears are giving the city of Chicago. I mean, sure, it's super easy for people to go out after a Bears game, but on a Sunday night, no, it's not going to happen. And they're not going to switch their name. Kind of like what you were saying earlier, the San Francisco 49ers play 2 hours away from downtown San Francisco. Just to
exactly. New York doesn't even, the Jets and the Giants don't even play anywhere near New York City.
Nowhere near.
Nowhere.
Just everyone. They're not going to switch their name. The Las Vegas, that's different. They're literally moving states. That's completely, and they're in downtown Las Vegas. That would be stupid if they called themselves the Oakland Raiders still. But the Bears are in a suburb of Chicago, and every suburban kid ever born says they're from Chicago. And then they're like, oh, where are you really from? And then they're from Arlington Heights. So technically you're not wrong because the Chicago Bears will be there. So overall, London, shout
out to the suburb boys.
Shout out to I say I'm from Chicago. It's when I'm speaking to people outside of things, but it just makes sense. But before we get into the final, actually, let's just jump into the final subject. Are you in for the Bears moving to Arlington Heights, London?
100%. I want
100%.
a big SoFi. I want a big SoFi stadium-esque stadium. I want a big, Jerry World stadium. The Chicago Bears just deserve it. We have a new young quarterback. We have a ton of attention on us. we have, a young GM, a young head coach. We have all this excitement here in Chicago. The Cubs are good. The White Sox are good. The Bulls, maybe. We'll see what happens.
Or maybe.
Even the Chicago Sky, like our WNBA team is really good right now.
Yeah.
Candace is like blowing people out on the basketball court. And so I just think it's time. I think it's a time for a new switch. I think it's time for a little bit of a new location. And it is absolutely time for a state-of-the-art stadium that I can go to and get a beer on tap without talking to a single person, because I just stick my beer on something. It fills it up. I pay $20 for it, but I still get drunk.
That's what it looks like when you fill it up?
Yeah, well, it's like you stick, you know what I'm talking about? You like stick on the thing and it just...
like a soda machine, but with beer.
Yeah, one of those things.
So, I'm 100% with you. Give me another. It's going to be Virginia's World at that point. It's not Jerry's World. We got to give it its own name, because that's how much better it's going to be than Jerry's World. But it could be 100,000 seat stadium, still have plenty of room. They're going to dig into the ground, because that's what everyone's doing now. Like, stadiums are going into the ground because of how high these things are. But also, there's actually going to be parking. If you've ever tried to park at Soldier Field, you definitely know the pain. And this one is the kicker, right? There's one more point I want to make, but this one is the biggest kicker, in my opinion. There will be bathrooms at a Bears game. If you've ever been to Soldier Field, all I'm going to say is, that the bathroom situation there is absolutely the worst in the league. But, it's just an overall economy. The city is still going to be buzzing. People, because the metro from Ogilvy goes straight to Arlington Heights. And I was talking to Kinney, who we had on a couple of weeks ago. He was like, dude, they're going to make express trains. They're going to, Sunday fun day. All the towns leading up to it are going to explode with economy, because people are going to want to live out there on that train line. And it's a fun train line. We got Mount Prospect, Palatine, Arlington Heights, Des Plaines, Park Ridge, Edison Park. It's fun. Overall, it's just going to be so beneficial to the entire Chicagoland area. People are still going to stay in the city the night before, the night after. And also, we can host a Final Four finally. We can host a Super Bowl. We can host major fights. I would love to see Mayweather and him not take on a fake celebrity ever again. But overall, there's just so many benefits to the Chicago Bears moving to Arlington Heights. London and I are saying yes to it. The only two people on the planet are Lori Lightfoot and Mike Ditka. And unfortunately, they're outnumbered right now. But with that, thank you for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Roti, joined alongside my co-host London Beth, and we will see you guys next time.